towards where Davy Rogers is up. Rogers swings the left. Davy Rogers! Oh, what a goal by Davy Rogers!
Not one person in this stadium seen this coming along.
You can see the guards behind the goal at the main stand. They will be investigating Shelbourne for robbery. They have absolutely mugged Trinity United here at Tolka.
And find the goal! Harry Wood, the jersey's off. 6 minutes to... Look at that one! What a goal that is!
Hi folks, and welcome to another LOI Talk show. Today I have the pleasure of having my Tate resident Cornell. He is providing us with a lot of insights. He's such an expert. He knows the League of Ireland from inside out, and he's a brilliant DJ. So if you're into music, you can also get to know his skills in that field. How are you doing, sir?
I am very, very well. Thank you very much. I'm very excited for this evening's podcast show, so can't wait.
Okay, enough. And if that's not enough for you to stay around for the next hour, just see who we have on the screen. We have the famous, reputed sports journalist directly from Cork, JOHN O SHEA. How are you doing?
Hi, Vitor. Thanks for having me on. Delighted to be here.
Very good. And I'm actually connecting from Portugal today. That's why I have a different background. I'm in my parents' place. Too sunny here, so I'm trying to protect myself since I'm not used to this weather anymore. But let's jump into the League of Ireland. There's so much to go through. So we will discuss what happened over the last 7 days. We will have a quick interview with John. So make sure you use the chat box. It's there for us to interact. We want this to be a two-side dialogue. We want this to be dynamic. So make sure you use it because we want everyone to contribute to the show. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, it would be great if you can, because that's the best way for this to be distributed in the YouTube sphere. If you are satisfied with the level of content delivered here, it would be great if you can click the thumbs up button below. And if you know someone who is into the League of Ireland but they're not familiar with the show, it would be great if you can share. So chat box is open. I will start throwing questions at the guys, but please do the same and add your comments and questions in the right place. So let's start with this one. Drogheda, they beat 1-0 Sligo. 1-0 is enough. 3 points on the pocket, John. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I suppose it was a good stuff, given I suppose the hammer blow. I suppose it was a real kick for Drogheda to kind of be. So I suppose all the build up for Europe after such a great year last year, winning the FAI Cup for them, it was a great story. And obviously the job that Kevin Doherty is doing up in you could argue make a case from being the manager of the season last year, and even I suppose even into this year as well. He's up there probably the top 2 or 3 managers in the league, maybe in terms of basically just what he's done, especially last year when they won full time, as it were, like how good his coaching ability was, and he really you could see how well resourced they were. Even I think they won a TAD as well, a couple even last year as well. So it was just to get that over was and to get the European football. And I suppose there's a lot of excitement up there in relation to that. And then it was just I suppose the hammer blow really just for it must have been a devastating blow for the club, the town, and I suppose even for Kevin Doherty, I suppose a good bit of his recruitment maybe in the off season as well was probably 1 or 2 players that could have been maybe like a deal breaker for them as well, probably coming to maybe Drogheda over other clubs maybe in the Premier Division here in the League of Ireland or maybe elsewhere as well. But so it just shows a lot about the character of the group and maybe the players that are there, and also the job that Kev Doherty and the coaching staff are doing, that they were able to respond in the right manner and go and get the 3 points against Sligo on the Friday night. That the one side I always, anytime I watch Drogheda as well, like they're extremely well coached. They're extremely well coached kind of team. I mean, even their down Turner's crossing earlier in the season as well. That they can go direct. They might play like maybe the pass out from the back football at times as well. But they know what they do and they're very good at it. And they're still a terrific season, and they're right. Most people probably would have had them down pre-season maybe as one of the relegation candidates. But I'd say that they're most certainly not. They're well clear of any. I'd say top half definitely could be very much on for them at least this year, which would be terrific. Maybe considering the circumstance, and then we look at some of the clubs that they're ahead of that would have maybe considerably bigger budgets. So we'll probably talk about later the likes of St. Pat's. But overall, it was definitely an ideal. So the show, it said a lot about the character of the group to me. That they went over and got the 3 points, because the morale could have very easily been on the floor after kind of finding out they weren't going to be competing in Europe.
Just a comment here from John. Yeah, a lot happened. Duff left. Cork City can't buy a win. Drogheda kicked out of Europe. For sure, it was a busy week, but we will touch base in these topics. John, make sure that you add your comments on this. Cornel, your views on Drogheda win?
My views on Drogheda winning against Salogo Rovers was no brainer. Drogheda United were the better side from start to finish, despite the Salogo Rovers showed some fighting spirit and some effort. But this is the thing about Drogheda and why they are in the top three, because of their quality and their ability. You've got players like Keeley in the team, who's been an absolute heartbeat at the back, has been absolutely solid at the back. You've got, James Taylor just killing it on the goals now. Since he's come back from injury, he's been so key going forward. You've got Owen Labbe as well, who's just been fantastic. And, this is the fantastic form that Drogheda deserves to be on. So, look, I think with Salogo Rovers, on the other hand, I mean, they've just brought, some new signings in, to come into their club. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how their new signings really cooperate with the likes of, with Hackey and Eldon in the team. But like I said, I mean, Drogheda are fair favourites now to go on and try and challenge for the League of Ireland title. So I think, Drogheda winning this game, I think is very, very important for them. Yes, they've gone through a lot of problems, especially being kicked out of Europe, even though their sister club, Salzburg IF is in it obviously, and it's despite the owner owns them. But look, I mean, I don't think Drogheda will worry about that now. I think they'll now focus on challenging for the League of Ireland title. I think they'll definitely go on and really carry on causing problems and shocks in the League of Ireland. So I think this is the fantastic start for Drogheda.
Right. Just before I go to next game, I just want to share here a comment, because John, you are new to the show and you already have fans. John just said, "I love your accent," and it's not only him; it's also me. So there are two people very happy to hear your strong Cork accent. I'm even nostalgic myself. So maybe I should pack and go back to Cork. Just an idea here. Next game, Waterford, they defeated Bows. Bows were in a very good sequence, but they couldn't handle visiting Waterford, John.
Yeah, it's to Waterford. They seem to have a very good kind of a home record as well this year for sure. So they were definitely good value in terms of getting the 3 points here as well. They were good value, especially against Bows, and even the Anna Reynolds factors. Well, obviously going back to Waterford, there's probably obviously there's a lot of I suppose of connection and history between obviously what So it was probably unique, kind of a novel kind of fixture for him for sure, going down with Bows. But it's again so that with Waterford, like Padre Gammon, he's like a fine wine, he's kind of digging better with age for sure. Even at 36, he's still he's probably one of the top finishers right up there if you're kind of listing the top strikers across all of the division. For sure, So it's especially with Waterford as well. Overall, since John Coleman has come in, he's kind of had so they've been very competitive, and so they've it's obviously compared to the same from a Cork City perspective. Maybe going with a kind of a young progressive a coach trying maybe it's his first kind of game or his first kind of senior job. Waterford with their change of manager, they've gone with the kind of the experienced head, a vastly experienced manager and John Cohen, and then like they're, just about getting results, and like they're, I think that they're probably a team that, given the league, the way the league is this year, though they're, I take at this stage now they don't really have. When you look at Sligo and Cork City behind them, well, they're kind of well behind them in terms of the table. So like, if you're Waterford at this stage, you're kind of looking maybe up the table, and can you finish up maybe compete even for a European spot, even for sure at the very least, because so there's no reason why. Because if you look at across the whole board, Waterford on their day, they're capable of kind of getting results off any team in the division, and I suppose with the form with the Bows kind of, and I suppose even with the subsequent game Monday night with the Dublin Derby, that was it. It shows kind of with Bows the form that they have been in recently as well. To get that kind of a 3 points, kind of, I suppose, a testament to Waterford that they're capable of going beating anybody in the division on any given day.
Cornell, do you think these 3 points were massive for Waterford, especially given the form of both?
Yeah, this was a massive, amazing 3 points for Waterford. Waterford, a team that's been in decent form this season. They've shown their class, they've shown their quality. They started, the first half of the season unbeaten before the unbeaten streak came to an end. John Coleman's got the very best out of Waterford this season, especially out of Lonergan and Almond as well. Almond's been in amazing form this season, along with Tommy Lonergan. So, this is the positive start that Waterford need. And Bohemians wasn't really at their very best, and we always know how fantastic Bohemians are. What Tierney's like. We all know what Denvoy is like, and Dale Rooney as well. But they wasn't at their very best, and Waterford were the better team, and they came up with a plan, and that was to beat Bohemians, and Waterford were victorious. So you have to kind of like really give it up to Waterford and how they executed the plan. So I think this is the best form that we've seen Waterford been in at the moment. So yeah, I think a fantastic win for Waterford against Bohemians.
We have here an ask from Ben: score predictions with goal scorers for Waterford versus Rovers. We'll get into it. We're just thinking now, taking in consideration what happened last week, but we will get into it once we talk about the upcoming games. So this is not forgotten. This was a massive upset for Shell's fan. Was it the beginning of the end for that, in your opinion, John?
Yeah, I suppose definitely it's definitely in terms of the games, it's definitely the one that's probably had the most kind of, especially in the aftermath for sure. So like, I suppose like from a Shell's perspective, you could probably feel like intensity, maybe other than Caffrey this year. It probably says a lot about the levels that Shells were at last year, that maybe they're so high that maybe a majority of the squad probably haven't gotten to that level this year, and it's probably that was probably the frustration. Even Damien Duff obviously coming out even afterwards as well. In terms of, he was criticised like maybe the character and application of the players, and it kind of maybe he probably felt like it was, and it kind of felt he'd taken the players in the group as far as he could, and maybe like for the sake of Shelburne for the rest of the season, it was best that he could have removed himself from the situation, as it were, really. So Shell, like, it's probably about like, and then I suppose even just touch on like with Derry as well, for sure. Like, they seem to really, they're kind of getting into a nice bit of form now as well. Like, they're kind of, if you look at the squad, a load of guys who experienced internationals in Northern Ireland as well. They're kind of to go and win at Talca Park, and it was a lot. It said a lot about kind of with them as well, and the potential that they have really to be kind of right near the top of the table. But like, yeah, it's definitely, it kind of felt like the end of the road, maybe, or the frustration from Duff's part was probably clear. That maybe Shells weren't reaching the levels that he felt they could, or that they were capable of, really. But it was just really, it kind of felt maybe that he maybe hit the end of the road. But even there was probably spell like Shells had a couple, kind of a spell for about 10, 15 minutes that he was particularly animated, you know, shouting instructions and stuff like. And like Sean Boyd had a chance they were close to kind of scoring shells as well. So like, so it was a good win for Derry, but then it felt like, you know, the end of the Duff and Shells, maybe it was the end of the road, and so he felt it was the end of the road anyway, you know.
Colonel, this was a massive 3 points for Derry, and that preceded another 3 points they collected in Inchicore. Like, how serious we should take Derry at this point?
At this present moment, this was, first of all, congratulations to Derry City on winning. Secondly, Michael Duffy's goal has to be goal of the season, and it was one of the best goals that he has ever scored. I mean, and that is the reason why Michael Duffy is in the form that he is this season, and why he is the best player, in the League of Ireland and for Derry. And this is a start of something new for Derry City now, because they've been criticised a lot because of their performances, and Derry City have turned the performances, into positives. And not only just that, I think the older players that have brought in, because they were criticised for bringing experienced players and not bringing in young players. And despite that, everything was all around Houlihan, around Patrick Hobben, around most of the time. And I always kind of felt like, oh yeah, he was the best player in the team and he was the key player. But right now it's changed. Now it's Liam Boyce who's taken a lot of the responsibility of trying to score goals and make things happen. But look, Derry City are deserved the win. They deserve the 3 points against Shelburne. As for Shelburne, what do I say about Shelburne? Look, Shelburne haven't been in the best of form this season. We all expected Shelburne to go on and retain the title. We're talking about Shelburne Football Club as a club here. We're talking about Damien Duff. Damien Duff has been, has had players like Gavin Malloy, who was their best centre-back. He's gone to Aberdeen. He hasn't replaced him. He's had one or two players who basically has, who's been injured, and he hasn't brought in players that he's supposed to. This is Damien Duff we're talking about here. We're talking about a legend that played for Chelsea. We're talking about a player that played for Fulham. We're talking about a player that represented the Republic of Ireland and showed his quality and showed his class. We're talking about a player that basically went on and said, well, that Shelburne is going to go on and win the title, and ended their 15-year wait of a title. Now they've won 9 consecutive League of Ireland titles. Now we're talking about Duff, who obviously before, when I came on here and when we all started together, that I basically said that Damien Duff is the most rated, underrated managers of the League of Ireland, which he was at the time. And we expected Damien Duff to come out with this winning mentality. The first start of the season, they came out guns blazing and said and beat and won the President's Cup against Drogheda. We all expected that. They went on an unbeaten run. Then the unbeaten run got completely off the ropes and was completely gone. Then we was thinking, well, what's going on here? Then they've added loads of midfielders like Ellis Chapman, who's been in and out of the team. And I'm kind of thinking, well, why did Ellis Chapman leave Saloga Rovers? Why didn't he just stay there instead of going to Shelburne? But obviously, when the money is right and you see an opportunity, you don't want to lose that opportunity. But Shelburne haven't been at their best. And I watched this game and I saw this game and I was like, this is not the Shelburne that I expect to be playing the way they're supposed to be playing. And you're telling me that they're losing to Derry City. Derry City, of all teams, who's been badly criticised for their performances, and Tian Lynch as well for his formation and strategy of going into the games. But Shelburne is going to be very interested to see who's going to be the manager. Joey O'Brien is more likely to take it, because obviously it looks like they're trying to adapt. They're adapting to Joey O'Brien's methods and how he wants to set them up. Whoever comes in for Damien Duff, I wasn't even expecting. I'm sure you wasn't expecting it as well, Victor, and I'm sure you wasn't expecting it as well, John, that Damien Duff decided to leave. And I felt shocked. And when I read that on social media, I was lost for words, because I expected Damien Duff to stay. But when you really look at the results of Shelburne, you have to question Damien Duff. And I think the comments as well that he made after they lost to Derry had a real effect on the players. Because right now, managers, head coach basically have to be really careful what they say and how they say things. Because when you say things, it can affect the players, and it may make the players feel they're not good enough, or they're not good enough to show their talents or to show what they are made of. Because when I look at these players in this, in Shelburne's team, I look at the likes of Ali Koo, I look at the likes of Ellis Chapman, Sean Boyd, fantastic to see him come back. Odebeko, we expected Odebeko and Sean Boyd to link up, but it wasn't Boyd's fault that he went out injured. These players that are in it, Barrett, every single one of them, they are fantastic players. They are quality players, and they have every single potential and quality to be special players and go further with their careers. And I think Damien Duff kind of like looked at this and kind of felt, well, he maybe couldn't get the best out of them, and maybe draining their energy and their mentality down a bit more. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they do in the Champions League qualifying group stage, qualifying against Linfield. They're going to be looking at that game and thinking, well, I think there's some serious weaknesses in Shelburne, because I really like Shelburne, and I feel Shelburne, I still believe that they can be favourites. But if they want to go back into the favourites and overtake the likes of Drogheda, overtake the likes of Bohemians, they have to get back to their best. And Joey O'Brien has a lot of work to do. And if he does get the job, or whoever comes in and whoever Shelburne hires to be the Shelburne manager, it's going to be interesting to see how that new manager is going to get the best out of them players, because Shelburne Football Club and the Shelburne fans, they deserve better and they deserve more. So, there was no surprises that Damien Duff left. Look, Damien Duff will always be remembered for winning the title for Shelburne. He brought that sort of like Jose Mourinho sort of style thing. But again, like I said, I think the comments that he made after the 1-0 defeat to Derry, I think really affected the players. And I think the board kind of felt, well, they can't have that bad attitude going amongst the players, because the players don't need it, and the Shelburne fans don't need it. They need upliftment and they need positivity. So I'll be very interested to see how they bounce back in the next game.
Now, a game that was devastating for myself and John. I don't know, John, if you were in Tawat. I was. And what I saw with my own pair of eyes was men against boys. And we were the boys, John.
I tell you, one of the kind of few Cork City supporters that were because there probably wasn't a whole the army. Maybe the Cork City, maybe the numbers will probably go up, maybe in bigger numbers to places like Tala as well. But it was just you kind of said it was how comprehensive. Like even I watched it on Virgin Media on television, like, and it was. It was over half time essentially. Really, they could even Rovers were kind of maybe going. They were just kind of seeing things out and kind of going through the motions a bit in the second half. It was kind of one that game, and particularly I was at the game the previous week against Bohemians as well, and it kind of just looked like, and even watching the Rovers game against Cork City, it kind of looked like a first division team in the Premier Division at times. Really, just like the step up, it looked like there was just such a gulf between the two sides, and like it was just, it was a kind of a case like of, it's probably a show kind of denied, maybe in terms of the game, that experience that maybe Cork City are maybe missing as well, in terms of that kind of maybe just in terms of game management, and because like they cut him far too up. Even Noonan's goal as well. Just one example that comes to mind. Like all the Rovers goals, it didn't seem like Rovers had to kind of work awfully hard to kind of to get the goals that they did get on the night, which is I suppose, like, if you're kind of giving players, like if you're giving them players of their quality space, and there's everything about Rovers quality, like pound for pound, you could make a case that quite the strongest team in the division, even recent weeks, if you're looking at the games, they're bringing Graham Burke and like an Ireland senior international off the bench with 20 minutes to go, like in recent weeks, as one example, like it just shows you, like, and then as a move that the Victor, who's linked with the move to Arsenal as well, the 16-year-old. I mean, it shows you the experience and quality that Rovers can even bring onto the bench. So I think that quality definitely was in evidence that Gulf was there on Friday night, and it was just it just felt like probably like an energy sapping defeat for Cork City. But Joe, it was probably a game that definitely went along maybe expected lines going by the form book, but it was just maybe it was probably the comfort of it, like the fact it was over at half time. That was probably the most maybe kind of if you look at through down here from a Cork City perspective, you know, there was probably the lack of a you know what I mean, like if it was a kind of game, maybe it was one that, you know, or 1-0 or 1-1 and Rovers get a late winner in the 90 minutes, you could say, look, obviously it's not obviously losing, it's not great, but the only City come away with positives, but it was just the fact that it was just maybe just such a comprehensive defeat or win for Rovers, and like it's definitely. And it's probably the only game from a Cork City perspective. Like it's the games up in Tallaght and Shamrock Rovers. They've kind of been the two games when there has been such a kind of a, you know, that when it looked like City, they're like a first division team in the Premier Division. Because in fairness to, I suppose, in other games, like even going back to when like Tim Clancy was there was kind of several matches there. Like they were kind of competitive. Like in a lot of games, it was only like maybe small, that kind of those are kind of small moments or kind of game management that you know that was kind of holding them back or going against them in some of the games. But like, yeah, overall it went along expected lines, and you know it was a kind of comfortable in the end for Rovers, to say the least.
Cornell, you were mentioning off camera that Cork's problems are mostly on the back. I think that was evident on that game.
Yeah, obviously, again, congratulations to Shamrock Rovers for winning this game 4-1. This was a walk in the park win for Shamrock Rovers. This is why the reason they are top of the table for a reason, because of their outstanding form, and now they extend their points at the top of the table to another 8 points. You know, despite that, you know that Bohemians have only played two more games. But look, I think the reason why Shamrock Rovers are top of the table is because of the likes of Noonan. You've got 16-year-old kids like Michael Noonan, who's just completely running the show. You've got Graham Burke, who's killing it with the goals. You've got Jack Byrne, that's killing it with the assists. You know, obviously Dylan Watts has just come back, which is a very big boost for them in their midfield. You know, you've got Lopez, who's been you know, pretty decent at the back and showing his experiences at the back. Despite that they're going to have another striker coming in on July 1st. Obviously, they've signed him, Randy McCoven. Looking forward to seeing what he does. But this, as I said, it was a walk in the park for him for this team. Look, Shamrock Rovers, again, they are the reason they are top. They are top because they have the quality and the ability to go further and try, and they are desperate to go and win the 5th consecutive League of Ireland title. They don't want to be slipping it up like they did last season to Shelburne. They want to go on and achieve the impossible and really show that they are the dominant team. And I mean, I'll be very interested to see what happens with them in Europe. Especially how they cope in the qualifiers. But this was, you know, a fantastic win for Shamrock Rovers, and why the reason they are where they are today in the table. As for Cork City, this is very horrible, and you know, you have to ask questions of Cork City as a team. Where do they go? What happens now? They're buying youth, you know, being added into their team. You know, yes, they bought Kellier, which is the other Kellier's brother from Liverpool. I mean, they've bought another youngster from Aston Villa. You know, I can understand where Nash wants to go. He wants to bring in youth, but he needs to bring an experienced player. They're on the verge of losing Daniels. I mean, because they need to replace Keaton, because Keaton is out for 6 months. You know, there is no way on earth that he's going to come back from a 6-month injury. I mean, yes, we all were excited when it was Keaton and Maguire up front and stuff. I think if Keaton was fit, I think yeah, then no problems. But I think Nash needs to have a look at has to really bring in experience, because the only way the youth is going to learn is through experience. And if you don't have experience in your team, then you've got problems. Cork City will have problems now because they're very weak at the back, which is very, very upsetting. Up front, yes, Cafu O'Sullivan, look, he's going to go to Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are going to take him. I mean, I'll be very interested to see how he gets into Crystal Palace's first team, right? So O'Sullivan is definitely going to go out the door. Daniels, I mean, a striker that coming on only on short term, which is not a very great sign, even though I would expect them to try and sign him permanently, but it looks like he's going to go to Kilmarnock and Kilmarnock are going to take him. But look, I think it's worrying times for Cork City, and if they can't bring in experience to the table, if Cork City FC is watching right now, I strongly advise them they need to bring in some experienced players, because without experience in this Cork City football team, I have a feeling that they'll be competing for playoff relegation, and I would rather see Cork City stay up than actually go down again, and then they have to do it all over again like they did last season, where they have to go and do well in the first division, get promoted, come back, and then start all over again. I don't think that's really fair on Cork City, and I feel very, very sorry for Cork City as a team, because I really like them as a team, and I think they are a very, very good side. But defensively, I think they need to work very hard on their defense. They need to work hard up front and find a way to replace Daniels and replace Maguire, because they need at least 2 or 3 strikers to really come into this Cork City and make a huge difference.
Another squad that is under expectation is Pats. So they lost 3-1 in Galway's ground, John.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a bit of a real rush of form that St. Pat's are in for sure. I mean, look, if pound for pound, like definitely, if you look at their squad for me, like on paper, like themselves and Rovers, like before ball was kicked this season, were the 2 teams for me that look to be the strongest on paper, like that. And so definitely, it's to see kind of Pat's definitely so far off as it's definitely like disappointing from their perspective for sure. Like, I mean, obviously there's so much potential in that. Like Mason Melia, that obviously going to Spurs. There's so much been said about him. Zach Buzetti, Jamie Lennon, Keena, Simon Power. Like there's so much potential. Like they're the ones that they probably should they probably should be up right closer to Rovers than where they are at the present moment. So but there's like it was kind of I still think like even Forrester as well, obviously another prime example there at Pat. There's so much potential. It kind of feels like if they can click, I think they're a side I think that could go on they're one of the sides I think that could, in what is a very competitive division, that could go on a run and win like 5 or 6 games in a row and put a successive of winning run together like that for sure. The Pats, I definitely think they have so much potential inside. And then it's obviously like Galway as well. It was a very good win for Galway at home. Like and then like you can see like how extremely well drilled this. Obviously, like Vitor, like we know, you probably know as well, like everyone in Cork probably knows how John Caulfield team operates and how he can really kind of elevate a club and a city, and I think he's kind of doing that a bit in Galway as well, obviously David Hurd at one of the moments from the game as well, his goal from right kind of around the halfway line, that was one of the highlight reels of the night, for sure. If it probably would have been the talking points of the match, obviously probably Pats and they're kind of struggling form probably was one of the standouts. But I think if Galway they're a side like another team they're very direct and they're another and what the managerial do at the things that they have to in John Caulfield and Ollie Horgan. So they're one side as well that they're never any team that goes up to Galway and Eamon DC Park and visiting when Galway are at home, the visiting sides know they're in for a tough night, and if you're not going to match them for effort and work rate and intensity on and off the ball, like you're going to be in for a difficult night. And I think that's kind of what kind of transpired in my opinion on Friday night. It was a well-earned 3 points for Galway, and they'd be kind of looking to kind of really kick on and just turn Galway turn their home form into a bit of a fortress over the remaining months of the season.
Cornell, I would like you to comment first the game, but also the fact that Moses Dyer is leaving Galway, and he's the top scorer not only of the league, but so that's a massive loss for Galway.
Yeah, first of all, amazing win for Galway United. They were the better team from start to finish. They played some very good attacking football. I can't get over the fact that David Hurley obviously scored an absolute scorcher from the halfway line off. I don't know what Yang was doing off his line. He could have stayed on his goal line and probably even saved it, but it was one of the best goal of the seasons that I've ever seen David Hurley score. Moses Dyer, who's got 10 goals this season, for Galway United, has been Galway United's best player this season, and why he's been in the red hot form that he deserves. But unfortunately, he's gone to Asia, to a club in overseas, and it's very, very a massive blow for Galway United, and I think Galway United will be very, very upset about that. It'll be very interesting, even though they've added Shaw into it. So I will be interested to see how he gets on. But I think replacing Moses Dyer will be very, very difficult for Galway United and where they go from here. But Galway United's performance against St. Pat's was the best performance there. Galway United showed the quality and their class, why they are the team that they are. We're talking about Galway United, who was unbeaten throughout this first half of the season before it came to a very end. We're talking about players like David Hurley. We're talking about players like Patrick Hickey, who has been in absolute wicked form, and why the reason why probably all clubs will be looking at Patrick Hickey for him to probably either move abroad or move into England. Who knows? And we're talking about the way that John Caulfield has really got Galway United. The way they're playing is just unbelievable, and I think they will carry on their performances and turn it into wins. As for St. Pat's, don't get me started on St. Pat's again. We're talking about St. Pat's, who came into who started the season unbeaten. We're talking about a team that, like St. Pat's, who basically came out and said, you know what, they're going to be favourites to go on and win. I watched this game, Victor and John, and I watched this game, and I saw the way that St. Pat's were playing against Galway United. Galway United owned them like they've never been owned before, and it is just unbelievable the way that they really go into this game and say, oh well, let's go and get beat 3-1, not 3-2, not 3-3-all, not even to score a winner. And we're talking about the front four of Zebedee. We're talking about Simon Power. The only players that were actually showing the ability was Simon Power. Simon Power was the only one that was actually doing something. Zebedee was the only one that was doing something. We're talking about Mason Media. Keena, I understand he's come back from injury, so can't really criticize him because it's not his fault. We're talking about Mason Media here. He's getting a move to Spurs in January, right? He's going to go to Spurs and he's going to go into their academy team. He's supposed to go on and score the goals and show Spurs what he's about. I expect this whole team. They've got quality in this team. You've got Jamie Lennon in this team. I can understand for Romeo Palmer who's out injured. That's not their fault. But they've got Joe Redburn at the back, who's been one of the best centre-backs in the League of Ireland this season, and I expect him to get a move to the EFL at some point. And you're looking at this whole team. We're looking at a Yang as a goalkeeper. What are you doing off your line? What are you doing off your line? Why are you making David Hurley score from the halfway line? Score from the halfway line, which is goal of the season. Why are you doing that? And they're making more mistakes at the back. They're supposed to be solid at the back. They're supposed to show their solidity at the back and show their class and their quality. What has happened to Mulaney? What has happened to Zebedee? What has happened to Simon Power? What has happened to this St. Pat's team? What has happened to them? I don't know what's going on with them. Stephen Kenny, is he under pressure? Yes, he is. He is definitely under pressure. If he can't get wins under his belt, I will not be surprised that he leaves the club, because he came in with a purpose. We're talking about Stephen Kenny here. We're talking about a manager that obviously dominated the League of Ireland before with Dundalk and won 12 League of Ireland titles, who's managed the Republic of Ireland and didn't do so well. And come into St. Pat's when St. Pat's was down in the dumps, especially in the playoffs and the playoff position. And he helped them to get them out of there and get them to win 9 games last season. Now, you and I, Victor, was talking about this and saying, well, I expect them to be favourites for the title. I expect them to challenge the likes of Shelburne, challenge the likes of Shamrock Rovers, to be challengers to try and go on and win the title. Now, every single Pats fan has been spat in their face of the performances. The performances haven't been good enough. And if St. Patrick's Athletic Football Club is watching this podcast right now, I want to see a response from them. I want them to play better. I want them to show the St. Pat's fans that they mean business. I want them to play for the shirt. I want them to get back to their winning ways. I want to see Mason Melia doing something. I want him to show Spurs. I want him to show all those St. Pat's fans that he means business, in scoring goals. I want to see Zebedee, Jake Mulaney, every single one of them put an outstanding, hard-working performance in their next game. Because if Stephen Kenny does not win his next game tomorrow in the League of Ireland, I'm sorry, he's got to go. He has got to go if he does not win his games, because you don't come into the League of Ireland and think, oh yeah, you run the show. No, you don't. You have to put in a performance. You have to know your starting 11. You need to know your formation. You need to know what you're doing. Stephen Kenny needs to know what he's doing. And I want to see Stephen Kenny put in an outstanding performance. I want him to put his best 11. I want him to put out, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Kinner. I don't care who it is. I want him to put his best 11. I want him to know what his best formation is for this team, because this team is a quality team. And I still believe that they deserve to be in and around being favourites for the League of Ireland title. Because if Stephen Kenny does not show his potential, if he doesn't show what he's about, the board is going to sit down and they're going to think, I think they've hired the wrong sort of manager for St. Pat's, and they will probably even sack him and probably let him go out the door and probably bring in another manager, because this is not St. Pat's. I want to see a response from St. Pat's tomorrow.
Right, so I'm going to move to the first division because we just received a question from Devin. I will share this one with you, John. Do you think Bray have any chance of winning the playoffs?
I think they for sure they'd be in and around there for absolutely. If you look at kind of the squad that they have, and they've of the teams definitely in the first division this year, that kind of in and around the, maybe obviously the other, like obviously Dundalk and Cove have probably kind of looked in terms of battling for the title, but I think definitely, I'd say Bray are the kind of side as well. I think they're capable of a young side as well, and a lot of maybe location wise, a lot of guys who probably who've played maybe at clubs in Dublin as well for sure, and I suppose that's always kind of an advantage with Bray as well, in terms of maybe attracting players from the club, or maybe guys from maybe Rovers or Bows or Pats under 20s and stuff as well. But like, no, I think definitely Bray our side that'll have a big say in the playoff mix for sure, over and the rest of the season, absolutely.
Cornell, I would like you to comment John's comment. Is Lee David the best player in the first division?
Yeah, definitely. He's been on wicked form this season, and he's been Treaty United's best player this season, and why the reason he is in wicked form. And I think he's showing his quality and his class, this season, and why he is on that red hot form. So I think if they can really keep him fit as well, and keep him away from injuries, Lee Devitt, I think, will definitely be one of the best players in the first division, and very, very key.
Okay, so let's now jump into Monday games. There's a lot of action to go through today. And the one I would like to start with is something that was, I wouldn't say it was shocking, but I think it shows that we should think that bows are not here for fun. They are challenging Shamrock as much as they can, I would say, John.
Absolutely, for sure. And Joe, who knows, maybe there might be a small sniff of a title race after Monday night, Joe. Maybe the general kind of consensus maybe in the last month or two for sure has been like, Joe, maybe Stuckday Rovers are going to kind of have a bit of a procession to the title, the way things are going. But who knows, bows are and like if you look back to when they played around Easter time there, Bows and Rovers, the day when Bows won in Tallaght earlier in the season, like it kind of looked kind of earlier in the season like Alan Reynolds was kind of under a bit of pressure, and like they were kind of down near the bottom of the table, and if you look at the run that they've been on since then, it's been Joe, he's really turned it around, and I think really this game. Really they were fully deserving winners for sure in the Dublin Derby, and it kind of showed this game really highlighted as well, so Joe, how good a tactical kind of tactician Alan Reynolds is. You could see I think they definitely had the edge on the night, and they definitely, from watching it, like there's maybe a hint of a game, Joe, maybe Joe, kind of a blueprint there for other teams, like if you want to beat Shamrock Rovers, this is the way you can go and do it. They were in Rovers like face from the get go. The likes of Matt Healy, like in centre mid, like he's been fantastic in the middle of the park for Rovers this season. But he was just the bows were up like he in his face from the first whistle in this game, and they were that was just they were just an aggression and an intensity about Bows that really they were up for this, like, and they were really out to kind of make a statement, and my word, did they do that on Monday night, and like, but it's not that they have quality. Like I've seen a bit of Bows this year, but even seeing them in the flesh the night down, like when they in Turner's Cross, seeing them in the flesh a couple of weeks ago, like it was 2-0, but really, like there's good quality. Like really, if it wasn't for Truce and the Crocs as you go, like I think I'm not exaggerating saying it probably would have been 5 or 6-0 to Bows on the night. Like the quality that's there, Joe. Like Ross Tierney is a quality operator. Like Dale Rooney, Clark. There's a real like there's. And I think that I think the kind of false nine, I feel like the role that Clark is playing, that's really kind of something that's been effective, and it's working for Bows in the last couple of weeks. Like there's a lot of there's a lot about them in the sense that, and they have the games in hand now as well. If they can win those, it's going to make it interesting in terms of the title race for the rest of the season. And like the Rovers, even Stephen Bradley kind of came out afterwards as well. Like he was saying, like there was kind of few complaints, like that they kind of the results wins probably they kind of got what they deserved on the night essentially. So it's kind of what he was saying. But and I say like it might be a kick up the backside maybe for them, maybe going into the forthcoming games. But like for this one for sure, like you have to say like there was a big statement from Bows, and who knows, like a potential blueprints for teams. If you want to beat the Shamrock Rovers team, this is how you go about and do it. And like Bows did that in an impressive fashion on Monday night.
So John is just recalling our good friend Jason. He's some sort of prophet, I would say. That YouTube people never, will never be something to forget. When he said that Bows could win the league and they were like 8th or 9th, and no one was taking him seriously, maybe it's time to bring Jason on this show. John, also have a question for you, Cornel. Is it time for more set to go?
It is, because it looks like that Bohemians don't really want him anymore. He's not really that suited to the League of Ireland. And when you're coming from the Championship or the Premier League or League One or League Two, you need to adapt to playing in a different league and a different standard and how the league is being played. Mose, we all expected Mose to go and score goals and really make something special happen for Bohemians. Everybody was getting absolutely hyped about it, and we all expected Bohemians to get the best out of Mose, but it hasn't really happened. So I think it's definitely time for him to go. But the performance, I mean, 3 wins, this season for Bohemians. Bohemians have always had Shamrock Rovers' number. This new season, Bohemians have just been one step ahead of Shamrock Rovers, and Shamrock Rovers have been like struggling to figure out how can they get back to having Bohemians' number again. The performances from Bohemians has been outstanding. I think if you look at the likes of Tierney, absolutely outstanding. Obviously, Denboy, absolutely brilliant. Dale Rooney, fantastic. They were brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and they just were completely unstoppable to watch. James Clark, obviously, despite he's been linked with Grimsby Town, which I'm very disappointed with, to be fair. But if he goes there, he goes there. At the end of the day, I just think that Bohemians were the better side, and they were. Shamrock Rovers wasn't at their best. And listen, if you want to beat the champions like Shamrock Rovers, who are now top of the table, then this is your chance to do it. And they showed the opportunity. As for John, I mean, obviously, shouting out John, who came on here previously. I mean, love the prediction that he obviously feels that, Bohemians can go on and challenge and try and win the title. And obviously Shelbourne will fall, which they have fallen. Listen, I think we need to kind of like take Bohemians very seriously. I think if they can carry on that performance and keep on turning their performances into wins, I think they've got a chance of challenging Shamrock Rovers for the title, and who knows, because the League of Ireland this season is a funny old league, and we all expect that twists and turns. We all expect, oh yes, we can come on here and say that Shamrock Rovers will go on and win the League of Ireland for a 5th consecutive time, but then look at what happened last season. We all expect Shamrock Rovers to go on and win, but Shelbourne beat them to it, and you never know. I think Bohemians could go on and probably do the same thing to Shamrock. So it's going to be a very interesting league, and the performances of Bohemians, I think, shows their class and their quality.
Now we move to Duff's last game. It happened to be in Waterford. So the draw wasn't enough. I think it was more about what happened in the past, not necessarily about the outcome of this game. John.
Yeah, it was for sure. It was kind of a competitive enough match, and absolutely, and obviously in the aftermath of Friday night, and obviously the Sunday morning, obviously the game on the Monday, but Friday on the Sunday, that basically turning up at the training session and Duff saying that's it, he's leaving. I'm out here, guys, So, but they didn't have any time. John felt like it was, given the circumstances, it was a good response, and so I think it showed in the coach, like how good a coach Joey O'Brien is as well, in terms of what he does, and it's probably the continuity. Often the managerial that you're having, that kind of those managerial duos, like the manager and the assistants, that they bounce off each other, and it kind of keeps you. So it kind of keeps you. You need someone like that, but keep you to bounce ideas off. And I think Joey has been a very good foil for Damien Duff in that sense. So like I think all things, it was probably a good response, all things considering. And Harry Wood obviously getting 2 goals down in the RSC. I think this year, like he's probably doing. He's having one of the players you could say for Shells probably who he's probably showing glimpses that he's probably doing better this season. Even I know he got the famous kind of iconic goal last season that won Shells the title, but I think he's showing signs as well. There could be more to come from him again over the coming months, and it was okay like for Shells to go down to what it was a competitive enough game, and it probably was a fair enough result in the end. Obviously, and again on the score sheet, a guy he just knows where the net is, and like obviously Noonan at the corner knew that he's a good kind of fighter. Lonergan, so there's a kind of a good team around him at Waterford as well. And it was interesting knowing what John Coleman's comments after the game. He kind of felt that it was the first time he was kind of saying this year that they were fortunate to get a draw. That, like, performance-wise, it was probably the least. Going by his comments post-match on Monday night, it was the one game he thought Waterford this season. They were performance-wise, it was probably their poorest performance since he's come into the club, which was kind of telling, and maybe shows you how well they have Waterford have been doing since he's come in as well, and the run that they've been on. But yeah, Joe, all in all, it was a fair result, and I think probably Joe, Shells, they'll be looking to kind of just kick on now from here, and obviously post Damien Duffy here now as well. They'll be hoping now to just kind of build on that now and just try to show them that they can have, and that they can be near the top end of the table. Whereas like Waterford as well, I think it's kind of, as I was mentioning earlier, I think that it's upwards rather than probably downward. Like, I think at this stage, really, you can't see Cork City or Sligo catching Waterford at the moment. So I think it's a case like what the Waterford maybe will be looking to eye up maybe ahead of them than looking over their shoulder.
Coronel, your views on this draw?
My views on the draw. Obviously, this was Shelbourne's game to win. I would postpone. I would pro se, and Damien Duff. I mean, this was the last time we happened to see Damien Duff once again after his comments. After the game. Look, I think if I expected Shelbourne to go on and win this game. Waterford had their number, at first, and Waterford showed their quality, and then, Shelbourne wasn't really good enough in the first half, which they weren't. Obviously, Joey O'Brien's taken the role now until they can find a new manager, unless Joey O'Brien impresses. I think Waterford were the better team in the first half, and they showed their class and their quality, and they wasn't afraid, and they managed to take them on and show that they are the reason where they are in the table. As for Shelbourne, they haven't been at their best, and I said that today previously, and I've said, listen, they need to find a way to get back to their very best, and Joey O'Brien needs to find a way to get the best out of them and bring in the right players and strengthen areas, especially in the back line, and make them into the team that they deserve to be. And until that happens, then I think we're going to see more results come through, and obviously Shelbourne falling down the pecking order, and that's not like them, because we all expect Shelbourne to be the favourites to challenge for the League of Ireland title and retain it. But we're not seeing that at the moment.
Now on Cork's draw with Rothley, I would like you, John, to comment John's comment, which was, where do Cork City go from here? It seems to be signing more youth when it's experience that they need for this relegation scrap. Any exclusives on potential signings?
In terms of the exclusive, there's probably, I'm still maybe doing a bit. If I can find them, maybe I'll be the first to kind of divulge. But at the moment, I think there's definitely going to be kind of like I think there's no doubt there's going to be change, and I think even come the end of July, if the starting 11 is quite considerably, or it's quite somewhat different to what it is at the moment. Because obviously we know like some of the lone players like Truce is the goalie could be potentially going, like Kit Nelson potentially could be going, Daniels, I think obviously there was talks of him going to Kilmarnock in Scotland, which would be obviously a loss as well, because he's been quite good since he's come in. He's been quite a good addition to the squad since he's come into the city setup. Like, but no, going back to the questions, for sure, I think, and maybe hopefully the signs, obviously Rory Feely, they've signed already. Fiacre Kelleher, inexperienced, who's played quite, obviously, I think most recently at Colchester, but he's quite a significant bit of experience playing under his belt in the Football League in England. that's going to be essential with City here at the moment, and what they're facing, just for sure. Like I think realistically it is by hook or by crook to staying in the division. But like I think at the moment, I think it's kind of the best I think they can hope is maybe just get into that playoff, that promotion relegation playoff position, because I think really like I think really for them, as I mentioned, like themselves, for Cork City and Sligo, I definitely in Cork City's case, I think Waterford, I think they're not going to catch Waterford really, and it's like I just can't see them catching Waterford at this stage. They're just too far off in the distance. Like really, it's just getting that experience into this club, and just doing what they need to just by hook or by just getting in and staying in the division, and I think for sure it hasn't been ideal for JOHN O SHEA, probably for his first kind of senior kind of first team managerial role. It's far from an ideal scenario to come into a club that's struggling kind of towards the bottom of the table, and to mid-season especially as well, to kind of to put your vision and to turn things around. But like he seems to kind of even going with the Drogheda game on Monday night, there seemed to be a small, in terms of the performance, especially the second half, there seems to be a bit of an urgency and aggression about the team that probably has been lacking, you could argue, in recent weeks. And then one of the standout moments, kind of other than the match, so one of the notewords was probably the crowd, or the lack of a crowd maybe in Turner's Cross as well. But it was quite telling, and even it was the first sign as well, obviously, that the frustration maybe was kind of starting to bubble a bit among the fan base, even with the shedding as well, with band against the owner, the chants and the banners and the frustration, and maybe the direction maybe that the club is kind of going, and it's probably just the case, like, and it's probably it's not, it's probably something that's not ideal what you want to see, but it is kind of. It just shows you maybe around the fan base as well that the kind of the mood that is around the club at the moment, and there is a kind of a bit of a deflation definitely among the fan base, and like they need to get maybe find this from somewhere on the pitch and the football side to get the club exciting and get the club going where it needs to go, because like at the moment, relegation is very much a possibility for them. Like it's like if you look at the potential that Cork City have, as a club, like there's so much more potential than being a yo-yo club, like going up and going like at the moment, if they were to go down like this year, it'd be like the third relegation in 6 years. Like and people would be about UCD before being like a yo-yo club. Cork City are very kind of, they're starting to kind of to get into that kind of territory, which would be kind of alarming. So I think definitely it's going to be crucial, and this window for sure as well. It's going to be crucial for them. But like the next 6, I think really, and I think in terms of, I don't think the pressure on JOHN O SHEA really, it's going to, unless they got relegated, I would say probably. But I think Nash, I think that the fan base are that he has a bit of a pass, I think, and he'll get his time, and there will be a bit of patience there in that sense, but in terms of like maybe just the division, and I think it's among the fan base, I think it's a case to get to the season and just stay up whatever you can, and then from there, then maybe hopefully once they do stay up, if City do hopefully stay up from the club's perspective, that Nash can really kind of have a full off season to kind of put his vision, a proper vision, and maybe get a proper squad that he wants for the club going forward. But like, yeah, I think it was probably, and the game Monday, it was a bad catch. It was a crazy finish. I mean, again, obviously Daniels getting the goal in second half stoppage time, and then Shawnee, it could have been absolute pandemonium. Like Shawnee Maguire has a chance then afterwards, literally the last kick of the game to win the game, which would have been a crazy ending. But like, obviously, all things considered, who knows? It could be a very important point for City come the end of the season, in particular for their battle to avoid automatic relegation with Sligo. That they could be looking back at that late goal, maybe that point could end up being the difference between a playoff and automatic relegation.
Cornell, just picking on John's comment, can Cork City beat the new UCD as a yo-yo team?
I think if they carry on playing the way they're playing, and if they can't go on and improve their team, then I think they will be the next UCD team that obviously that's not been doing well this year. We're talking about Cork City as a team, you know, who are expected to stay up this year and avoid the relegation playoff places. Look, Drogheda obviously is no different. They're in the top three trying to challenge for the League of Ireland title. But Cork City, we're talking about a team that's not been in very good form. And you know, look, I said it from my statement that they need to bring in some experienced players to help this young side, because it's not all about just bringing youth. You have to bring in experience. But I can understand, yes, it is very, very difficult to find that type of experienced player, and who that experienced player could come in and really help Cork City be up the table and really get them to finish in a very respectable position. But if they cannot find any solutions or any sort of signings that's going to help Cork City, I think they will be in serious trouble by challenging for the playoffs and the relegation spots.
Now moving to massive 3 points for Derry, and I think a very awful result for Pats, because at least they were doing well at home, but doesn't seem to be the case anymore. John.
Yeah, absolutely. So another kind of another disappointing result from a Pats perspective, and like it's a case again, as you said, like, obviously the home form as well. Like it's just the rut that they seem to be in at the moment is it's kind of like it's frustrating. It must be from a Pats perspective. Like again, they are probably one side that on paper, like they're capable of going out and getting the results and getting being up there with Rovers, and like, and even the game, like they are creating chance. I think even I was looking at the stats there earlier as well. I think they had 6 shots on target, and they had like 14 shots in total, and like I think they had the majority of the possession as well in the game. Like so, they are getting the chances and they are creating them, which is, I suppose, at least that's the one thing you'd say about it. But I think for sure, I think it's a real credit again from Derry's point of view, to go to win 2 games in the space of a couple of days down in Dublin. It's a big testament to them and and what they're doing. And I think this game as well, one was noteworthy from my perspective as well, is kind of the solidity that seems to be going into the Derry side in the last couple of weeks. So they seem to really, like once they went ahead through Liam Boyce's goal, they kind of defended quite well, and there's a shape emerging there. And that's going to bode well going into the rest of the season. And like, but the players that they do have, like they probably, so there's definitely, they should be definitely. I think they're maybe in terms of definitely in the cup for certain. They're a side that probably should be targeting winning the cup outright rather. Like the squad they had, like the experience and the international experience, like of Liam Boyce, like Gavin White. Winchester is a good player. Michael Duffy, the quality he has, like Brian Maher as well on his day. You could indicate he's one of the best goalkeepers in the league. And then there's good strength and depth there. For sure in the Derry setup for Tiernan Lynch to work with. And I think they could have a good second half, a very strong second half of the season. In fact, and. So again, this is a result which showed for them, like to go down 2 games and this to win, obviously Shells on the Friday and Pats to get 2 wins over 2 from those games. Was a very productive weekend's work for Derry City. Whereas like on the other hand, for Pats, it's obviously it's a rut that they're going to want to get out of fairly quickly, and they want to start. They want to get positive results and points on the board very fast.
Colin, I know you already mentioned there is form and how wrong is Pats at the moment. Would you like to add anything in particular when it comes to this game?
Obviously, yes. As you say, I've already like spoken about Derry City's performances and the form they're in. Obviously, 2 wins. Beating St. Pat's was a very good result for them. But we're talking about St. Patrick's as a club and as a team. You know, this is absolutely a disgrace from St. Pat's. I mean, the form, we expected them to be a team that no one doesn't want to be playing this season. Right now, they have lost their away form. They've lost their home games, which, you know, we always know that St. Pat's are always unstoppable when they're at home, and they're always on top when it comes for when they're at home. They've been unbeaten at home. They've been unbeaten at home twice. That's gone now, and they haven't shown their outstanding form. Even though I've passionately ranted about St. Pat's and said, you know, what has happened to St. Pat's? St. Pat's have shown that they haven't been good enough. Stephen Kenny has shown that he hasn't been good enough with setting up the right teams. Yes, injuries hasn't really helped. Yes, Palmer being out hasn't helped. Forrester, who's just come back from an injury, there is no way that they can rely on Chris Forrester right now, because they're trying to manage his games and make sure they don't overdo it with him. Mason Melia, obviously, we're talking about a striker who, as I said previously, you know, who is going to be heading to Spurs, who should be scoring goals and making things happen, you know, coming on and making a huge difference. He's in the starting 11 for a reason, for him to showcase his talent. Aidan McKenna, obviously, who was top scorer before Moses Dyer overtook him, can't be helped due to his injury. Not McKenna's fault, but again, this is not right from St. Pat's. This is not the St. Pat's that we know that can really deliver, because they can deliver. They can deliver. They are a fantastic team. They are brilliant at what they do. But to lose 1-0 to a Derry side who obviously got 2 wins now, this is not good enough from St. Pat's. This whole team, you look at the whole team, you look at from the likes of Redmond, Breslin, every single one of them, Sean O'Hare, every one of them, a Yang, a goalkeeper that obviously got picked for his country, represented his country, who made a mistake against Galway United. Honestly, we all expect St. Pat's to be favourites. We all expect Stephen Kenny to be dominating, using all his experiences that he has shown in the League of Ireland and bringing it to St. Pat's. Right now, it's getting all these St. Pat's fans very frustrated on how St. Pat's are performing. It's getting them very upset that they're not seeing no responses, no winning response. Yes, every team has to win, draw, and lose, but not like this. Not to a Derry team that has been in amazing form and really starting to pick up themselves. St. Pat's have to really look at themselves as players and as a team and say, where do they go from here? Do they still challenge for the title? Because you're seeing Bohemians and Drogheda being more challengers than obviously the likes of St. Pat's and Shelburne. St. Pat's right now have to really look at themselves in the mirror. Every single player, the only players that were doing something was Simon Power. Simon Power was the only one that was actually doing something. Zebedee was the only one that was actually creating an opportunity. There was no life in the game. There was no passion. There was no effort. There was nothing from St. Pat's. And this is absolutely a disgrace from St. Pat's. This is absolutely disgraceful from Stephen Kenny, because Stephen Kenny can be better as a manager. He needs to wake up. He needs to wake up as a manager. All those players in that St. Pat's team, they need to wake up. They need to rise above their expectation. If they want to get back to being challengers for Shamrock Rovers, because Shamrock Rovers is running away with the League of Ireland title, despite that we're underestimating Bohemians right now, even though Bohemians are in a good position for them to go and challenge Shamrock Rovers. But if St. Pat's want to get back to challenging for the League of Ireland title, they need to wake up. They need to rise above their expectations. They need to rise up. They need to wake up and find that St. Pat's, that dominating St. Pat's that we were seeing at the beginning of this first half of the League of Ireland. I want to see them get back to that. I want to see them be sending a message to every single League of Ireland fan and telling them they are back. They are back to challenge for the title. They are going to do something special, because they can do something special, but they need to show it. And I want them to rise up. I want them to rise up in the next game and wake up.
Now, the last game from Monday was Sligo 2, Galway 1. I bet that you are not that happy with the result, John, as a Cork City fan.
Yeah, I think that from a Cork City perspective, obviously the as I say, how important the point could have been, the Daniel's goal against Drogheda on Monday night, but ultimately the gap has doubled between Cork City and Sligo. Obviously, Sligo are 4 points ahead now after the result on Monday, and I think overall, like if the game, if you're assessing the match, like it was a good 3 points and a big 3 points for Sligo. So they seem to kind of, especially at home as well, they seem to maybe be hitting a bit of a resurgent of form, and they're showing signs that they could potentially have a strong second half as they can do. And I think they could be, signs are promising there. Obviously, Lombato's goal as well was a real kind of cheeky a flick to win it out for Sligo as well on the night, and it was a game that they were good value, I thought, for overall, and obviously it was a flash. Obviously obviously John Moses Dyer, and it was a brave man to kind of maybe try to pick a fight with John Mahon for sure on the night as well. After scoring and then getting a red card, and obviously subsequently, as we were touching on earlier, Dyer obviously this is going to be his last game for the club, and by all accounts it looks like he's going to. I think he could be about to sign for a club in Cambodia, from what I understand anyway. So like he's going to be a significant loss for Galway. And obviously, the top goals, one of the top scorers in the top scorer in the league. He's going to be a big loss for Galway for sure. But I think who knows, like with Galway, John Caulfield and Ollie Horgan always seem to, and obviously with Dyer signing as well, there's a good example of it too. They seem to have a good kind of a knack of pulling rabbits out of the hat and maybe pulling signings or pulling signings from locations around the globe, even for sure. Like of signing players think outside the box when it comes to that. So like that, he's a significant loss. It's definitely one. I think that the Galway, I wouldn't be surprised if they could fill that void in some shape anyway for the second half of the season. But like from this one, it was kudos and big. All credit goes to Sligo Rovers. Good value for and a big result for Sligo on the night as well. And a very important result in the context, obviously, with the table now where that gap now 4 points ahead of Cork City.
Coronel, would you echo John's comments, as this was very important 3 points for Sligo?
Yeah, this was very important for Sligo Rovers. They deserve to get all 3 points. I don't expected Galway United to go into this game with full energy and full potential to go on and win this game, but it didn't go their way. This was the final time that we saw Moses Dyer, who's been in, as I said today, in previously, that he's been in wicked for red hot form with 10 goals this season. He's a big loss. He's gone to Kamamoda now, obviously, in Asia. He's gone to an Asian club now, which despite that Derry City wanted to sign him, but he rejected them and decided to go to Cambodia. So, it's a massive blow for Galway United, and I think it'll be very interesting to see how Galway United do replace him. I mean, does it mean that Shaw will step it up? I was going to expect to see Shaw and Dyer really link up together, and it's not going to happen. So, I think it'd be very interesting. The red card, obviously, I think maybe Moses Dyer could have avoided that. He could have avoided, because I saw that and I felt, well, he didn't need to really go in a scrap a scrap with the Saloka Rovers player. He could have just kept his cool and just walked away and just get on with the game. But when your emotions get the best of you, then it's very, very difficult. But look, I think Moses Dyer is a very, very big blow.
Right. Now, John, we will put you on the spot. We will throw a few questions. I invite the audience to do the same. Myself and Cornell will do turns. So one me, then one Cornell, and back to me. So the first I have here is, how did you get into sports journalism, and what are the beauty and challenges of your profession?
I think I think from a young age I was always massively into sport and like into football and into all sports really. But I think maybe from a fairly young age I realised in terms of like football, I wasn't going to maybe be playing at like a Premier League level or playing internationally for Ireland in terms of playing ability. So I think journalism, it's something that I've always kind of, from even people would always say to me, even as well, like kind of family or cousins, they'd be saying like, as soon as like, even when I was like primary school kind of age, I was reading the newspaper or reading the sports sections of the papers and the news sections of the papers. It's like I've always had that kind of a keen, the adrenaline of kind of finding out information and just reading and just kind of consuming as much content as possible. It's always been something I've been fairly passionate about, and then obviously getting into going off and doing it as a job as well. It's something to kind of get paid. That's definitely, in terms of the beauties of something, to get paid doing something you enjoy so much. In terms of like, I've been very fortunate like in my career. Like obviously, I've had a long to get where I have to. I spent obviously time down in Kerry in Tralee doing kind of broad, and that exposed me into radio and television, kind of broadcasting. And then I went up and did a master's in journalism in Dublin, in Dublin City University. And then that really, I got the hunger. I felt like that this is definitely something I kind of want to do. And I think that's definitely one of the beauties of it. You're kind of going, you're getting information, and you're doing something that you enjoy and you're very passionate about. Like sometimes when I've been working in recent times or in the last couple of years, it hasn't felt like I've been working, because I've enjoyed it so much. I've had the pleasure of kind of going, covering Cork, even from a soccer perspective, covering League of Ireland, covering Cork City, covering Cove Ramblers, covering the Irish kind of national team, and the excitement of going to the adrenaline of being in the press box and stuff. It's something I get a real kind of a kick off of it, in terms of getting the information and seeing the excitement, how it happens, like the goals going in, the twists and turns and the drama that can go with football, And I've been, in that sense, I've been very fortunate to kind of really be player in terms of even one of my highlights, I suppose, has been putting together a book. I suppose the Cork City FC Game of My Life book, which is so I've got to getting to talk to the players in Cork City's history over the 30 years, and really that was a real highlight for me, because getting to see some of the most successful players, some of the most successful teams in the history of the club. And they opening the door of the dressing room, and it was like getting a sneak peek into how they operate, what motivated them, and how much it meant to them to play for the club, winning things with the club, And I think that's kind of the thing I enjoy the most about kind of what I do as well. You're meeting people, you're kind of hearing their stories, and you're that's it. Like I really do enjoy that, and that's definitely the beauty of it. It's something. The perks of it probably I enjoy it so much. You're kind of meeting people, you're covering matches, and it's something I've always been passionate about, and I'm very privileged to say I'm in that position now where I can do something and get paid for it that I enjoy so much. And then just to drop it, I think definitely the pros outweigh the cons, but like I think it's something maybe maybe it's involved. I don't really would see them as but maybe someone else might. Other people might, in terms of say like maybe the hour that sometimes you might have to work weekends, or you have to kind of really work hard to kind of get that's full time in journalism. But like, it's I've worked quite a bit to kind of get to the position I am, but I'm very fortunate to do something I enjoy doing, and I don't take that for granted at all.
Yeah, and you already answered my next question, because I was meant to ask about the book. So it's good that you already addressed that. I want to recommend John's articles on the Echo. They're quite professional. Your writing is fantastic. So I like to read your stuff, even if it's about sports that I don't really follow, say like GAA and stuff like that. I learned about, and I like your style, the way you write. So that's I think that's my incentive for you going forward. Cornell, any question from you to start?
What really inspired you to love the League of Ireland so much, and who was your favorite League of Ireland player watching in the League of Ireland?
I think for like League of Ireland, I think it was probably like growing up. I think like anyway, from when I was a child, I think the first kind of soccer I would have been exposed, probably I was watching kind of games like Premier League games on television, or even in particular probably Manchester United. Like when I was growing up, like, it was probably as a kid, Roy Keane was obviously at his pomp or in the peak of his career, Man United. So that was my early exposure. But then I actually got brought along by a friend of mine. Like they were his brother and his father. They initially they were kind of going to Cork City games kind of fairly regularly. This is around maybe 2004-ish kind of time, the 2004-2005 season. And then I went along to one or two games with them, and it was just instantly I was just kind of just hooked by it, like just maybe the shed, the old shed now, the atmosphere. It was iconic. And then just I suppose the buzz of seeing it in person, and just the adrenaline of seeing a live game and seeing players like like guys on your doorstep who were playing like footballers, but guys who were kind of from where you're from, like kind of like it was the first moment I realised. It was I was about maybe 11, 12 years of age, but it was my first time. Like, geez, you could actually go to a game of go to a football match and have heroes or guys you could look up to who are from where you're from, like watch television. It felt more real to me, and that's where my love for League of Ireland started, and it's something I've been hooked to ever since. Really, it's been a massive part of my life. It was just that connection. It was real football, as it were, kind of to do that kind of cliche. Just having I can follow a team that's from where that kind of where I'm from, kind of thing. It just that was the big draw for me in one sense. I think some of the other, and I think that going into the part there, your question of about maybe who my first kind of players, my favorite players were, who was my favorite League of Ireland player. It was kind of fortunate in that team as well. It was probably a good time to follow Cork City. That maybe one of the best teams in the club's history, from that 2004-2005 winning team, or the 2005 team that won the League of Ireland the following year as well in 2005. The style of football was, and maybe Pat Dolan played as well, and Dean Richardson was very conducive to that. But I think the likes of John O'Flynn, George O'Callaghan were probably the two guys I really enjoy watching play. Just I think George O'Callaghan was the kind of player, like, he really kind of, anytime he got on the ball, it looked like he was going to, something exciting was going to happen, in terms of maybe he was going to play a true ball or play a pass into like the likes of John O'Flynn, Roy O'Donovan. That whole team was when I really kind of they were like my first kind of like even like footballing heroes, and said that I looked up to them, and they were a team I really kind of enjoyed, and there was just like people be like, even if you're looking at maybe Man United, like the Roy Keanes, just and having these guys, you know, they were like Roy Keane to me in my eyes. The fact they were going out and the fact they won the league as well in 2005. But I think in terms of if it was tough, I'd probably go George O'Callaghan. Just that, like, what a talented player he was, and I think he's technically. I think he definitely was the kind of he had and even like the potential to play right at the highest level, and I think even John O'Flynn likewise as well. Though I think injuries in John O'Flynn's case really probably I think if he was injury free around that time, the early 2000s, well, especially in 2008, 2006, 2008, 9, 10, I think he could have played right at the highest level, or even that would be like definitely championship level at least in England. But yeah, you know. That was kind of in a nutshell why I first got into League of Ireland football, and it's been a fun part of my life ever since, really. You know,
John, how do you go about being objective? Because I know you are a passionate Cork City fan, but you are still a journalist, and I know myself, you know, how hard it is to be neutral when there's a lot of sentiments on the pitch.
Yeah, I think it's probably something over time I've kind of, with the nature of the job, I thought something with experience you kind of grow with it, really, or you learn to kind of put your journalist hat on if you need to, and just kind of to try to keep that as much as possible, really, you know. But it's probably it's kind of this being able to see things down the middle. That's kind of. I kind of feel that maybe that's part. Maybe when I'm so passionate about being like a reporter, or definitely particularly when it comes to like sports journalism as well, I kind of feel like, you know, I'm so passionate about my role. I feel like I'm at the stage now where I feel like, in terms of maybe my journalistic integrity, kind of thing, I kind of, no matter if it's Cork leadership or playing or whoever, I kind of, if I'm working at a game, I want to make sure as much as possible I'm going to call it right down the middle, and just so if I look back at my article on the newspaper or online the following day, I want to as best as I can just kind of say, look, here it goes. I've called it down the middle, that, you know, you're not being overly kind of favor in one side, you know, and that's it. It's but in a nutshell, I suppose it's something you kind of build up over time, really, and it's something with experience. I found it. I've been able to kind of more of a handle on being objective and staying neutral at matches, for sure.
Cornell, yeah.
My question is, who do you think the League of Ireland has become very popular now than how it was before, and right now, because the League of Ireland is really starting to get a lot of attraction from new fans? Do you think the League of Ireland is getting the huge respect that it deserves, or what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think definitely it's at the point now. It's, you know, I feel that it's in as good a place as it's probably ever been in my lifetime, for sure, in terms of like the respect and the coverage. It's probably something maybe it felt maybe more of a need, like years ago, probably, like it probably wasn't getting the respect maybe I felt it deserved, and a lot of people who followed the league, maybe when I started around that 04 or 05 or 06, it probably felt like, you know, when I started following at the start, it kind of felt like it wasn't getting the respect that it deserved, and that maybe that there's good players on your doorstep that, you know, rather than having to go over to England or going to, you know, that you could watch a good game on your doorstep, for sure. But like, I think in the last couple of years, there's been a real shift in it. It is we're in a real exciting time for the league. You know, I think maybe it's definitely maybe something. It's definitely something maybe after COVID, for sure. Something that going in the last 2 or 3 years. You know, in the sense, like, you know, the crowds have been up, and I think people are really, like, you can going local, I suppose, and just following your own team and the passion that entails as well, and the talent that's there, obviously, with the academy, like the likes of Evan Ferguson with Bowes, obviously Cork City, like the Jake O'Brien now, who's with Everton. You're seeing, I think it's grown
John, my final and last question for you. It's not necessarily football or journalism related. Can you share a fun fact about yourself that might surprise the viewers?
I think there's probably I scored a winning goal in a Gaelic football league final from Macroom, my local J club back at that's probably in terms of my playing career. People might know me from play or obviously writing and stuff, but it was like a junior league final. I managed to score a goal in the final that won the league for Macroom. So like it was definitely. It was a couple of years ago now, but like it was probably the highlight of what maybe what was a kind of fairly limited playing career. It was definitely something I take pride still on.
Cornel, any final questions from your end?
My final question is, who do you think is favourite to win the League of Ireland? Do you see Shamrock Rovers winning their 5th consecutive League of Ireland title, or do you think that Bohs could shock the whole of the League of Ireland and go on and win the League of Ireland title, or do you think Drogheda could go on? Who do you think is going to win the League of Ireland title?
I think obviously we might have a bit of a title race hopefully with both hopefully might make it exciting and interesting over the second half of the season. But I still think, just looking at the Rovers, I just think Shamrock Rovers, I think pound for pound, their squad, I can't see anyone but them winning the league this year. I think I think it's going to be Rovers that will win the league. It's just the strength and depth they have. It's phenomenal. Obviously, like Graham Burke, Aaron Green, Matt Healy, Jack Burns, for example. Josh Honan even has had a great season. Even getting international recognition, and obviously there's talk he could potentially by the end of the summer maybe move to the Football League in England or outside of the League of Ireland. So, but like just the strength, it's phenomenal. Even looking at the game on Monday, if you look at the squad that they in Daily Park, they bringing guys like Mandroyu, like Dylan Watts off the, so even in recent I've said they were bringing guys that they were bringing Graham Burke off, or maybe managing his minutes with the games and stuff like that. But the fact that it shows you the luxury of the Rovers, the strength and depth that they have. That they're bringing guys like Graham Burke on as sub, like there's guys that basically that are who were subs for Rovers at the moment who would be guaranteed to be starting for the majority, if not all, of the other teams in the league. They're in a good position for sure. I think I think the testament, I suppose, get the Stephen Bradley credits for the job that he has done there at Rovers. I remember in his earlier days at the club, there was banners calling for him to go, but credit to the club off, and I think I think you have to give even Stephen Bradley credit, huge credit for what has during what has been, I suppose, personally, it's been a couple of years for him, in terms of especially the battles that he's been going through. But it says a lot about him, as a manager and as a person as well, that he's stuck with this Rovers project. And I think the Rovers players have definitely responded to that as well. In terms of the sacrifices that this guy is doing, it would have been understandable for Stephen Bradley just to maybe just take some time away and be with his family. But he's stuck with this Rovers project, and he's the player and the club are definitely bearing the fruits of it. And I think I think it's very strong. I do think, to answer what I was going to call it, I think and there's going to be another Premier Division title, I think, going to be heading to Shamrock Rovers come the end of the season.
Okay, so let's jump to the upcoming games. I will just ask you for a score prediction and then a brief comment. So mostly I will be interested in your score prediction. So, Corn, I will start with Cork St. Patrick's.
Oh my days! I think for me personally, I wouldn't be surprised if I want St. Pat's to win this game, because I want them to bounce back and I want them to wake up from their previous results that haven't gone their way. I want Cork City to go and win, because I think Cork City do deserve an opportunity for them to go and cause an upset towards St. Patrick's. But I think St. Patrick's will want this game more, and they need to really bounce back. So I would not be surprised if this becomes a draw.
John, I know you want Cork City to win, but maybe reality is slightly different.
I think, I think it's a game. Both teams, for different reasons, they need the win really, and they can do with the win. It's going to be interesting. I think definitely again to see what the mood and the atmosphere will be like around Turner's Cross tomorrow night, because it hasn't been great in recent weeks, to put it lightly. And I think just the live game is it's going to be I think City are going to be hoping maybe in front of the cameras as well. It's a live game on Virgin Media's television. That they'll be looking for a big response. But I think Pats are the same. Are going to be kind of thinking that this is a good opportunity to get 3 points and to kind of get back to winning ways. And I think ultimately, probably, unfortunately, I think it's going to be the head probably ruling the heart probably this one. So I could see Pats probably winning this probably 2-1.
Let's move to the West. Galway, Shelbourne. That's the first game after Duff. What's the score prediction? Colin?
My score prediction for this, I think it's going to be a Shelbourne win because obviously Joey O'Brien has got them where he wants them, and I think it'll be very interesting to see how Galway United really respond without Moses Dyer. But I think Shelbourne, if they want to get back into the title race this season, I think a win is the best statement, and I think the attacking football that they're playing under Joey O'Brien, I think is very interesting. So I think I'm going to go with Shelbourne to win this one.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I think I think I'm the same. I kind of fancy Shells to get the result here. So I think with Joey O'Brien as well. It's probably. I think he's in charge, but I won't be surprised if he's in charge beyond Friday night as well, in terms of maybe getting the Shelbourne job maybe maybe until the end of the season at least for sure. But I think there's still the bone. I think that all things considered, it probably was a good reaction on Monday night. I think to have a full week under their belt and as well go over to Galway. I think they're capable. They're capable of getting a result over in Galway, and I think crucially, obviously the news about Moses Dyer, it's going to be over in terms of for Galway as well, knowing that he's leaving the squad and he's over the setup. But I think I kind of fancy. I think Shell's Joey O'Brien will, in terms of continuity, he'll keep things going. I suppose in terms of the wheel, I don't think obviously Damien Duff. We're heading towards the first week of him being gone club, but I think Joey O'Brien is capable of keeping the wheels in motion. I think I'd fancy Shells to go over and get the win.
Corner, two teams that are in good form meeting on Friday. Derry Drogheda. What could be the outcome of?
My outcome of this is we're talking about two teams that have been in fantastic form. 2 wins for Derry City this season. Drogheda has been in good form as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how both teams really kick on. Drogheda are in the title race and Derry City not far behind. But look, I wouldn't be surprised that Drogheda wins this one, to be honest, because Drogheda have been in an amazing form. But I think for me, it wouldn't be surprising if there's another draw coming in this one.
Would you share the same perspective, John, or there could be a winner?
I think Derry, I think it's a game that we kind of they should be looking to win. I think definitely after the 2 good games, 2 good results in Dublin. I think it'd be a tight one. I think Drogheda are definitely a team. I think they're capable of going up to Derry and getting a result. But I think the way things go, I think if I was to call, I think I kind of fancy to kind of keep their kind of good form going. I think it'll be tight, but it might only be a 1-0 win. But I think Derry, I fancy him to edge a tight encounter.
Next on the line, we have Bows, Sligo. Is it 3 points for Bows, or it's not as easy as they might think?
It might not be that easy as it seems, because Sligo will give Bohemians a very, very tough, hard game, and Bohemians have been in outstanding form this season. We've seen the very best of Ross Attorney. We've seen the best of Denvoy. We've seen the best of Dale Rooney. James Clark, who's been in good form as well, despite that he's been linked with a move away to Grimsby Town. And I do believe that I think Bohemians are in the best form of their life, this season. So it wouldn't be surprising if Bohemians go on and win. So I think there's another 3 points coming to Bohemians' way.
Would you think the same, John? I know you would wish as a Cork City fan, but maybe Sligo can also avail of their current form.
Yeah, I think definitely. Obviously, if City were to get a result tonight and then Bows were to win, it would be an ideal centre from a Cork City glasses on. But yeah, I think Sligo. I think so obviously they're coming into this game off the back of a Connacht derby win, and I think they are capable of getting a result in Dalymount. It wouldn't be the biggest shock of all time if they did get something in my eyes. But I think Bows are coming. They're in a good place now, and I think Alan Reynolds has really got them kind of. They're starting to maybe kind of. They've been clicking into gear a bit, and I think the performance. You could argue in the derby game, they're not one of the less collective performances by any team this season. That's how good like Bows were in terms of being at it and on it. In the derby, they're nice. So like they're going to be on a high, obviously beating their bigs coming to this game. I think the moment. I think Bows will. I think the momentum will continue in this one as well. And I kind of do fancy Bows 3 points in this one.
Last we have Shamrock Waterford. I'd say this is a home victory for the Tavat team.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is another win for Shamrock Rovers right now. I think Shamrock Rovers will want to bounce back after they lost their game to Bohemians. They wasn't very happy with the performance, and they wasn't very happy with the result. Obviously, I think Stephen Bradley will look at his team and put out a fantastic side that can take down Waterford. So it wouldn't be surprising if Shamrock Rovers come all blazing and come up with a win. So I'm going Shamrock Rovers.
Did we go the same way, John, or are we going to shock the viewers with a different perspective?
I think probably I'd probably go the same way as well. I think Rovers after the derby game, I think Stephen Bradley will be hoping there'll be maybe a kick off the backside for the players, and they'll respond in the right manner tomorrow night. So I still, it's another one. I think it could be potential banana skin in terms of Waterford's. I think they are capable of getting results off anyone in the division on their day. I think, and having, as I mentioned earlier as well, a few times, though, having somebody like Padre Gamd up front, who's arguably one of the best strikers in the division as well. So if they can keep it tight, and if they keep frustrating Rovers, they are capable of scoring at the other end. And who knows, they might even take a leaf from Bowes' book as well. It's a big risk to kind of high risk, high reward stuff, maybe in terms of just attacking the game and going on the front foot. But like, it's probably what you need to do if you want to maybe get a result against Rovers. Because if you sit off of them, they are going to dominate possession. And I do think I'd be intrigued to see how this one plays out. But I think ultimately I would say Rovers are going to get back on the horse and get the 3 points again.
Right, so yeah, we went through a lot of games, so there is more to come. We'll be here next week together with Cornell, so I hope everyone enjoyed our insights. I want to thank you, John, for joining us this evening. I can see you have a lot to say about League of Ireland, and yeah, we are keen to have you here. The door is open, so yeah, Thursday 7 p.m. John, you know where we are. Happy to have you back, and hopefully at some point we can meet in Thomas Cross.
Right. Absolutely. No, I've enjoyed it, Vitor, and thank you for having me on as well. I've enjoyed talking with yourself and Cornell to all things League of Ireland this evening. I've really enjoyed it, and hopefully maybe towards the end of the season, or maybe I might do another appearance towards the end of the season, and hopefully if we are meeting Turner's Cross, it'll be at a Premier Division match, and not in the first division again. Yeah, that's the expectation. So, guys, if you enjoyed what we did here, make sure to press those 3 buttons below: like, subscribe, and share. That's the best way to help us promote our stuff. So, I wish everyone a good evening, and I hope to see you very soon. Have a good one. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care.
Cheers, folks. Bye.
Towards where
Davy Rogers is up. Rogers swings the left. Oh, Davy Rogers! Oh, what a goal by Davy Rogers!
Not one person in this stadium seen this coming.
We can see the guards behind the goal at the main stand. They will be investigating Shelbourne for robbery. They have absolutely mugged Trinity United here at Top.
Up and find the goal! Harry Wood, the jersey's off. 6 minutes to...
Look at that one! What a goal!